There's a lot going on the chemical side. You may have heard about Daniel Nocera at MIT that is doing the part of photosynthesis that is water splitting. Leaves split water. When light hits them, they split water into hydrogen, protons, and oxygen. And the holy grail, of course, is solar hydrogen. If we didn't have to do electrolysis, if we could hook something up to the sun and split water and bubble off hydrogen in that way, that would be a great thing. The other thing that within the fuel cell, the chemistry is looking very much to the natural world, because the hydrogen chemistry, the hydrogen anode, the part of the fuel cell that deals with hydrogen chemistry, right now it uses platinum. This is from the oldest organism. It's a cyanobacteria. The enzyme is called a hydrogenase, and it does very smooth hydrogen chemistry. And it's a double iron. It's not platinum. So reducing the cost, I find it sort of poetic license that the most ancient blue-green, the most ancient organism on Earth, might help us solve the fuel cell challenges. There's lots of people working in this space. Here's one. This is a bipolar plate from a company called Morgan Fuel Cells. And they said, you know, basically a fuel cell takes in hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. It's a breathing apparatus. So in those channels in which we take in the gas, maybe we should make the channels resemble lungs. Maybe the branching structures of lungs, of leaves. It turns out that Santa Fe Institute has kind of cracked the mathematical code that shows us that the branching structures and everything from your lungs to your veins to leaf veins to tree roots are all a single mathematical equation. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, the step down from one pipe size diameter, and then it branches and steps down to another size, branches again and steps down. That mathematical formula goes across the entire, all the kingdoms. Anyway, 16% increase in peak power just by trying that. And of course, Stephen Chu, who's now our energy secretary, he believes termite guts will save the world. If you type in Chu and there you go, it might be another nominative determinism, I'm not sure, but if you type in Chu and termite guts, you'll see that basically his work at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, dealing with biofuels, trying to crack this idea of how do we convert cellulose into a chemical fuel, and of course termites convert cellulose very, very well. There's a whole realm that's called swarm technology. Have you guys heard about, with all the smart grid stuff, have you heard about swarm technology? This is a company called Regen that uses some of that bee-inspired, in their software they use bee foraging strategies. There's a whole realm of optimization software based on how ants find your picnic in 20 seconds. You know how you're sitting there and you're alone and one ant comes and then the whole hive comes? There is an optimization program that goes on, and British Telecom was the first one to use it. If you make a phone call in Europe, your call is being routed to different cell towers based on an ant colony optimization program. There's lots of this going on. The other software thing that's kind of interesting is natural selection in software. It's called evolutionary computing or genetic algorithms. And these are where we've got, as humans, a very complex problem. And it could be something like a shipping schedule. Or it could be the layout of a pipe, of a water system, say, in a city. And an engineer can sit down and lay that out and try to optimize it for materials and number of valves and whatnot. But if you basically start with a layout, and you put that layout in programming code, and then you mutate it, there's actually a genetic algorithm will mutate that program, create 20,000 versions, and then you take the two prize pigs out of those two programs, and you mate them in the computer. It's sex in the computer. And and then you mutate again, and after a certain number of generations, you wind up with a pipe layout that's really, you know, it gets, the engineer scratches their head. It's really optimized. Again, natural selection at work. Water, since we talked, it was really great to see Peter today. This is interesting. Aquaporins are these hourglass-shaped pores that are all over your body. They're in your kidneys, they're in your red blood cells especially. And amazingly, they are gatekeepers, and they stop everything from coming through, and they're like a traffic director that takes only water. And it takes water molecules very quickly. It literally escorts water molecules through. So in a sense, this is forward osmosis in a sense that you're not blocking things. You're actually pulling water through to the other side. There's a Swedish company called Aquaporin that's starting to make these membranes, but there's all kinds of people in this space as well. I'm really interested in this, not just for desalination, but all kinds of purification, water purification. And it's what's going on in your kidneys right now. This is interesting too. I think the with the increase in nanotechnology, and you may be investing in that space, and of course nature is nano. The question you're going to get is about nanoparticles, and it's a good question to ask. So how does nature deal with nano? There's I think biomimicry can help to guide that space to do safe nanotechnology. But as far as remediation goes, there's even a remediation thing going on in the natural world. Bacteria have been found to release proteins that will grab nanoparticles in the water and clump them together so that they don't disperse in the water column. That's going to be a really interesting kind of technology. Because if you think about there's filtration where you use a membrane, but life often does concentration, where out of a mixed stream of heavy metals, say, it pulls down what it wants, not through a membrane, but through attraction and concentration. Remember, only we think of heavy metals as bad things. You know, some organisms may need small parts of those metals for their metabolism. So there's all kinds of work in chelation technologies, looking at how organisms do it. And again, biomimicry is not biotechnology. It's not using bacteria to do this. It's literally using the recipe from the organism or the blueprint of the organism. It's the strategy we're mimicking. Jay Harmon is here from PAC Scientific. And this is the lily. It's called the lily, and you can see why. And this small device with a very, very low amount of energy use is able to circulate water in a huge municipal water system, a big water tower. It's able to circulate that continually so that you don't need to have as much chlorine to clean every molecule, because it gets away from that stratification. It does thorough mixing at a very, very low energy. That curve is another one of those ubiquitous mathematics in the natural world. Those curves in the natural world are found everywhere, including the cochlear of your ear and your skin pores. It's the way flow goes. Water is more than just harvesting it and purifying it. It's also conserving it, which, again, if we went on a hike, boy, would you see a lot of that. This is an interesting technology that is based on how your blood, when you get a cut, how the platelets in your body rush to that cut and how they heal them. And the technology is actually called platelet, and it's healing of pipes, which just to do that, just to seal off some of the leaks in our irrigation and water transport would be an amazing feat.